Welcome to another free pattern Friday. I am working on making an apron. The apron is a free pattern from Kaufman fabrics, and I'm starting to cut. I've already cut out the pockets and the straps, which is pretty simple cutting, but I wanted to show you all the cutting for the body of the apron, because you need to have your fabric folded. So like when it comes off the bolt and it's already folded and you have a selvage edge and a selvage edge, okay, and you have your fold. So the first thing I need to do is cut a piece that is 23 inches long. This is going to be for the front of the apron. Okay. I'm gonna set this aside for just a second, and I'm gonna cut a piece for the back of the apron, and this one is gonna be cut at 27 1/4 inches. Okay, 27 1/4. Okay, I love this fabric. My grandma gave me this, and I love it. She's got quite a lot of it, and I think it's so beautiful, all these florals. Okay, now I'm actually gonna go ahead and turn my cutting board because we need to have this lined up a certain way. Okay, so with the fold on your right, actually before we do that, okay, so then with the fold on one side, we're gonna cut this at 14 inches, okay? Fold on one side, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I'm gonna lay my ruler down here. I'm gonna double check that counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yes, go ahead and cut this. Okay, I will just set that fabric aside. I'm gonna open this back up now. Okay, so now I've got my fold over here. We need to measure over 6 inches down on this side. That is gonna be 6 inches down on this side. It's gonna be right here. I'm gonna use the permanent marker. I'm just gonna make a dot right there at the 6-inch mark. Then we're gonna measure 6 inches in from this side. And we're gonna make a dot here. Okay, now I have to draw a line from our dot on this side to our dot on that side. And then you cut right along here. So you're basically just removing a little triangle piece so that then when you open this, you have a piece that looks like that. And that's the basic shape of our apron. This is for the back. And now I'm gonna do the exact same thing with the front. So, same thing here. I'm gonna have my fold here along this side. And then I am just gonna go over to the 14. Just gonna double check and make sure that I am 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Measure twice, cut once, okay? And then same thing we just did on the other side. Measure down 6 inches and put yourself a little mark just so that you can see where that 6-inch line was. And then same thing across here on the top to 6 inches. I'm gonna put a little mark right there. Then all I'm gonna do is turn this so that I am from mark to mark, making a diagonal, and then I'm just gonna cut that. Okay. There we go. Now, the other pieces that I've already cut, are a 7.5" by 12" rectangle for the front pocket. I have straps. The neck strap is 3.5" by 26". And then I have 2 straps, which are for the side straps, that are 3.5" by 32. These are gonna be our side straps. And then there's a piece that goes along the bottom that's 5". And this is gonna be a little accent color along the bottom. So let's get into the sewing. Okay. So step 1, we're gonna take the top of our apron, and we're gonna take that 5" piece that goes along the bottom, and we're gonna go ahead and sew this accent strip on. Right sides together, 1/4" seam. Okay, the next step is going to be to iron this towards our accent rectangle. So I'm just gonna take this right here, and I'm gonna go ahead and iron this. Okay, so this is basically going to be the front of our apron. Now, there is a pocket that we add. So I'm gonna take the piece that I have cut out for my pocket, and I'm gonna go ahead and fold. Let me move this out of the way a little bit. So this is my piece for my pocket. It only has a seam here because my piece wasn't big enough, so I had to make it bigger. If you're working from your stash, sometimes when you cut your pieces out, you do have to go ahead and piece them together to get the required size that the pattern wants. I'm gonna fold it 1/4 inch roughly down towards the wrong side of the fabric and iron it in place. I'm gonna repeat that again, so I make a double fold here. And then all we're gonna do is top stitch along here. That's gonna make sure that all the raw edges are gonna be inside the pocket. Okay, so essentially all I did was add a little, I folded it down twice so that the raw edges were enclosed, and then added a little row of top stitching just to close all of that in. Now the next step is to go ahead and iron the sides in as well. I'm gonna fold it twice and iron. Okay, and then I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. Fold it in so all the raw edges are encased. And I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna stitch down those sides. Okay. I'm gonna do that one more time on the bottom. Just folding those little pieces in, pressing, folding it in again, and pressing one more time. This is to make our little pocket for the front of our apron. Okay. Okay. Last time, I'm gonna just top stitch that so that that will stay down. Okay, now when you're looking at this, you can see there's already the center fold line is still there. That's actually good. We're not going to iron out that center fold just yet, because we're gonna fold our little pocket in half and just give it a quick little press so we have a seam line here, or a fold line here as well. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna center this fold on this fold. And then it says to measure up 11 inches from the bottom of the apron, okay? So let's measure up 11 inches from the bottom. I'm just gonna double check that real quick. I'm like 99% sure after reading it earlier it said that. Yeah, measure up 11 inches from the bottom center. 11 inches from the bottom center. Okay. I need to pull this up a little higher. Okay, is that 11 inches? Yeah, okay. So now I'm going to take a couple of pins. Like I said, I have this center fold from where we cut it on the fold. Now I'm going to pin my pocket in place. So I'm just gonna stick a couple pins in here. Okay. Now to sew the pocket on, you're going to not sew along the top, because that's where you're gonna be able to slide into your pocket. So you're gonna stitch from this corner to the bottom, across the bottom, up the other side like a giant U shape, and then you're gonna do a seam up the middle so that you have basically two pockets. Okay, maybe I might throw in a couple more pins here. I don't wanna go too close to the edges, but I wanna make sure this is not gonna move around on me while I'm trying to stitch it. Okay, let's sew on a pocket. Again, that's the top. I almost sewed along the top. Okay, if you remember your colored panel that you put on the bottom, your accent piece is on the bottom, so that's the bottom of your pocket. I'm gonna leave my needle down, and I'm just gonna pivot this corner, and I'm gonna come up this other side. Make sure you backstitch a little bit of these corners, because that's the part that's gonna get heavy usage when you're sliding your hands in and out of the pockets. Okay, I'm gonna come over to this center, and again, I can just see that I've got that fold. And then also I'm using a stripe, so I can just run straight up one of my stripes. Okay, get to the top. I'm gonna backstitch a couple times. Forward, back, okay? All right, once more, and this part will be done. Just this other side right here. Towards the top. Okay, so now we should have a piece that looks like this. And this is basically gonna be the front of our apron. We need to start working next on the straps. We need to start working next on the straps and then put the back lining on. But the front of our apron is basically done. Okay, so we have 3 pieces for our straps here. Now, what I'm gonna do is fold them together, right sides together, and all we're gonna do is sew along one side, right sides together. now you should essentially have a tube that looks like this. We need to turn it right side out. I'm gonna take a safety pin and I'm going to pin this on my fabric. Then I'm gonna just, let me pin it the other way, actually. Okay, I'm gonna pin it here, and then I'm gonna start just, you kind of just slide it down under, and then you kind of have to start kind of helping it along to turn it right sides out. So you're gonna kind of just like scrunch, 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 and then you can kind of like pull down to kind of help it turn itself inside out. Scrunch, 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 pull, pull, scrunching and pulling, and scrunching and pulling. I can almost see the end here. Okay, so there's the end. So now essentially you just have to hold on to that, and then you're just gonna start pulling it out. Okay, it's this is just a little bit fiddly, but eventually it'll go. And if you're really good at this part, this is not like my favorite part, but there we go. Okay, all right, we now have it turned right side out, but it looks like a hot mess. So we gotta iron this. So I'm gonna remove my safety pin, and you're gonna repeat this process with those other two straps, the neck strap and the end straps. Okay. And actually, I forgot one little important piece here, which was to sew one end straight. So actually, let me go ahead and top stitch this down, because I forgot I was supposed to sew one end before I did that. I just folded the raw edges in, and I'm gonna just top stitch right here. Okay. So if you kind of find your seam, you kind of wanna, I like to kind of pull where the seam is to kind of help this start laying flat. And it takes a little bit of fiddling. I wouldn't start pressing until you kind of finger press it a little tiny bit first, because you don't want to press it into the wrong shape. But if you kind of grab onto your seam and pull a little bit and smooth, it'll start kind of getting back to the right shape that it's supposed to be for the strap, and not just a rounded mess. Okay. This is starting to look a little bit better. Okay, so once you kind of have it finger pressed a little bit, then you can take your iron and start actually pressing. Okay, so there's a strap. Now, so if we're looking at the front of our apron, it says to put it 1/2 inch below this, where the diagonal comes into the side. It needs to go 1/2 inch below that. So all I'm gonna do is put it in place, and then I'm gonna go ahead and pin this. Where'd my pins go? Well, maybe I'll just really carefully, I'm gonna base this in place. It's gonna get sewn again when we sew our lining on, but right now I'm just gonna base this in place. Okay, basting is just sewing it on there. Okay, so that's one strap on. Now the lining is not on yet. Okay, so I need to make my other two straps and base them in place, and then we'll add the lining. So I'm now going to, I'm gonna pin this on, the neck strap on. I've already finished the, sewing it in place. I've already finished sewing it right sides together and flipping it. Right now, all I'm doing is just pinning this into place. I'm gonna baste this on there now. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and sew this strap into place before we put the lining on. And same thing, I'm gonna slide this one down. Okay, all right, so now we need to put our lining on. So if we lay this out in front of us, what we wanna do is make sure all the straps are going in to the center, okay? And then once all of our straps are in towards the center, we're gonna take our piece that we cut out at the beginning of the video, which is our back lining, okay? Now, we're gonna lay it right sides together, okay? I'm gonna start at the top and I'm gonna start pinning this into place. So it should match up. It should match up. So when we take this point to point here, I'm gonna start right at the top and I'm gonna go ahead and start pinning this together, starting from the top. Okay, then I'm gonna come over to the side. I'm gonna make sure those straps are really in there. And I am going to line this up here on the side and put some pins in here. And then this way. Now we're gonna have to leave an opening on the bottom so we can turn our apron right side out. So you need to just leave about, I'm gonna leave a hole from about here to about maybe about here. So I can turn this apron right, so about this much. So I can turn this apron right sides out. Use as much or as little pins as you want. The main thing is just that all your points are, you know, like your corners. I would say like kind of, I started from the top center and then I'm pinning all the way around the sides and bottom just to try to make sure that I've really got this on here as nicely as I can. And then I am actually gonna switch to my regular presser foot because I want to do a little bit thicker than 1/4 inch to make sure that it will capture all of my straps. Okay, I'm gonna start from the top. What did I just do with my little pin cushion? So I can stick the pins back in as I pull them out. Okay, so I'm gonna start here from the top. Now I'm gonna come down this other side right here. I can adjust it a little bit if I need to. But I started from the top because if I have to trim a little bit off the bottom to make it work, that's okay. To the bottom. Okay, now on the bottom, I'm only gonna sew to where I put my mark. So I'm looking right now for my mark. I see it, so I'm only gonna sew to that mark. And when I get to the mark, I'm just gonna back stitch a little bit. So there's that mark. So I'm gonna right here back stitch. Okay, then I'm gonna skip over that part right now. I'm gonna go back up to the top. And I now want to go ahead and do this other diagonal side. Okay, I'm gonna sew to my mark on this side, and then we're gonna work on turning it right sides together. Okay, so we're gonna make my mark. Okay, there's my mark. Okay, now comes the really fun part. We're gonna turn it right sides out and see how we did. Okay, now you might encounter some pins. So if you see any more pins, you can go ahead and pull your pins out so you don't get stabbed. I can't see anymore right now, but I'll probably find them with my hand. I hate that, getting stuck, but we'll see. Okay, I'm just gonna stick my hand in that hole we left. Reach all the way up to, oh, see, there's another pin right there. Okay, I'm trying to make sure I've got all the pins out. I have all the pins out. I don't see any more right now. Okay, so you're gonna just reach into that hole and you're just gonna turn this right sides out. Okay, so see, there's your next strap. Now, I'm gonna iron it and top stitch around the edges and close up that hole, but that is our apron. So, before we stitch up our hole, I'm gonna reach in here and just press out these corners here a little bit. I'm gonna use the blunt side of this marker to just kind of help me press this corner out a little bit, and down here on this other side as well. Just kind of making sure that it's pressed out. Oh, I found a pin. I thought I had them all, but I didn't. There's a pin right there. Definitely do not want to sew that inside of my apron. Okay, so just kind of marking that out a little bit right there. Okay, I think this is looking so nice. Okay. I need to sew this hole shut on the bottom. So I'm going to grab and pull here. That's really nicely and neatly in there. Okay, I just need to top stitch this closed here on the bottom. Okay. Now, I had followed the pattern exactly, but I think if I make it again, I would make double the amount of pockets and make them a little bit bigger. But anyway, for a free pattern, it came out pretty good, I think. And it's already made it into the rotation at my house. Great for cooking, just to protect your clothes and have something to wipe your hands on. If you enjoyed this tutorial today, please hit the like, hype, subscribe button, share it with a friend who likes to sew, and make sure that you're following along so you don't miss any more of the future upcoming free pattern Fridays. And if there's a certain pattern that you would like to see me make on this channel, drop that in the comments and let me know. Happy quilting, happy sewing.